Hey guys, it's Miss Sonatore. I'm out hanging out in my backyard, ready to enjoy the end of our Jigsaw Jones story. Happy Fun Friday to everyone. I hope you guys are already having a great day, leading into a great weekend at home with your families. Before we start our story, I want to start with a great big hug, just to remind you that I love you, miss you, and care about you. Always sending my love from my house to your house. So you heard it right. We're finishing our Jigsaw Jones story. This whole week we've been reading The Case of the Stolen Baseball Cards, where Eddie lost his collection of baseball cards. We found a note from a phantom, and Jigsaw Jones is on the case. I can't wait to see who the phantom is. Now we have 3 chapters left in this story, so we're just gonna go ahead and finish them all today. So hope you're comfy at home, ready to listen. Let's actively listen as I continue to read Jigsaw Jones. Here we go. Chapter 9, Figuring It Out. I woke up in a panic. I dreamed I was being chased by a slobbery, hairy giant. I felt its hot breath on my neck. I felt its claws dig into my back. I was squished against the wall. My blanket was gone. I rolled over to find Rags hogging the bed. His paws pushed into my back. To make things worse, he was drooling on my pillow. "Oh, Rags," I sighed. "Give me a break." I tried to push him off. The big fur ball wouldn't budge. Yeesh. I wondered if cat people had days like this. I suddenly realized today was the day. If I didn't solve the case, I'd owe Eddie Becker $1. Time was running out. I washed and ate breakfast in a hurry. Bring, bring, the phone rang. Who could be calling us this early, my mom wondered. She answered the phone, then handed it to me. "Jigsaw, this is Mila. Can you come over right after breakfast?" 2 minutes later, I was leaning on her doorbell. Mila and I sat down on her front steps. "A few things about the case have been bothering me," Mila said. I flicked a pebble with my thumb and listened. "Eddie didn't seem sad enough," Mila said. "If I lost something that I love, I'd want to cry." "Maybe Eddie's not the crying type," I said. "Maybe," Mila said, "but the thing that really bothers me is how Eddie discovered the robbery." "What do you mean?" I asked. "He wanted to check on his cards. That's normal." "I guess," Mila said doubtfully, "but why did he look inside the binder? If it was me, I would have checked to see if the binder was still there. I wouldn't have thought to open it." Mila had a point. Why did Eddie look inside? Unless Eddie already knew that his cards were gone. I told Mila that Eddie owed Biggs Maloney a baseball card. Mila smiled. "You found the missing piece, Jigsaw. Eddie had a motive." "A motive?" I asked. "Yes, a reason for faking the robbery. With his best cards stolen," Mila explained, "Eddie wouldn't lose one to Biggs." It was starting to make sense. "But what about the search?" I asked. "We all had to empty our backpacks." "All of us?" Mila asked. "I don't remember Miss Gleason looking in Eddie's backpack. After all, no one suspected that Eddie stole his own baseball cards." The bus pulled up. "I guess Eddie's the phantom," I concluded. "But we've still got one problem." "What's that?" Mila asked. "How did Eddie do it?" Chapter 10, The Confession. I sat by the window, watching the world roll past. Eddie was in his usual spot, joking with Bobby and Mike. He wore the same identical baseball shirt. One day I noticed something different. It had an old ink stain on the shoulder. I thought about Biggs Maloney's twin brother, Harry and Larry. I thought about Graham's and how the outside of something didn't always tell you what was inside. I suddenly knew how Eddie Becker pulled off the crime. The bus dropped us off at school. We still had a few minutes before class. "Hey, Jigsaw," Eddie called out. "You owe me $1. He held his palm out. "Pay up." A few kids gathered around. Mila, Bobby, Biggs, and Kim Lewis. I didn't reach into my pocket. "You seem pretty happy for a guy who lost his best baseball cards," I said. Eddie let that one pass. "Pay up," he repeated. I turned to Biggs. "Hey, Biggs," I said, "you ever notice how Eddie always wears the same shirt? Tell me, what kind of guy would wear the same old smelly shirt day after day?" Eddie shifted on his feet. "Doesn't your mother ever wash that thing?" I asked him. "You don't know anything," Eddie said. "I have 2 of the exact same shirts. When one is in the wash, I wear the clean one." It was just a thought. It was just as I thought, except one shirt had an ink stain on the shoulder, right? Eddie looked at the stain. So? "So," I said, You've got 2 shirts that look alike. No big deal. Biggs has 2 brothers who look alike. It happens. Except I figure you've got 2 blue binders that look alike. Don't you, Eddie? Eddie's face turned pale. Yesterday, you brought 2 blue binders to school, didn't you? I asked. I held up 2 fingers. Not 1 binder, but 2. Eddie turned to leave. You're crazy. A large hand with the grip of a grizzly fell on Eddie's shoulders. Not so fast, Biggs Maloney said. Yeah, Eddie, Kim Lewis said. Not so fast. Eddie looked at our faces, scared and silent. He was caught, and he knew it. 1 binder had cards, I said. You made sure to show them to everybody. Then you made the switch. I figured you had an empty blue binder in your backpack. It was a nice trick, Eddie, especially when you put away the empty binder in the closet for everyone to see. Real smooth. And the phony note, I said, that was a nice touch. You had me fooled for a while. Isn't that true, Eddie? Biggs asked. Eddie nodded and hung his head. I'm sorry, he said. I'm really sorry. It's just, well, I love those cards so much. Chapter 11, this is the last chapter. The Phantom strikes again. Mila gave me a high five. Jigsaw, that was awesome. Thanks, I mumbled. Even Kim Lewis patted me on the back. Nice work, detective. Kim wasn't mad at us anymore. Miss Gleason and Eddie talked quietly in the hallway for a long time. None of us could hear a word. And believe me, we tried. And then they came back. Eddie looked almost happy, and Miss Gleason was back to her smiling self. Okay, boys and girls, Miss Gleason said, clapping her hands. I can't wait to see those banners. By the end of the day, room 201 looked like my backyard on laundry day. Our banners dangled from 2 long ropes stretched across the classroom. They were hung up with clothespins. We loved it. Now room 201, Miss Gleason said, was all about us. After school, I bicycled with Biggs Maloney to Eddie Becker's house. It was payback time. Walking into Eddie's room was like entering the Baseball Hall of Fame. There was a big poster of Mark McGwire plus hundreds of baseball cards cut out from magazines. Eddie had baseball bed sheets, baseball trophies, baseball books, and even a baseball garbage can. Eddie had hundreds of cards filed neatly in a storage box. Those weren't his commons, the ones that weren't worth much. He kept his best cards in plastic card guards stored in 3-ring binders. I didn't waste time. I told Eddie exactly which one I wanted. He was thrilled. Eddie happily gave me 4 quarters and my pick from his commons. I chose one. It's not worth anything, Eddie pointed out. He's just a backup catcher and the card's not even in great shape. I looked at the card. On the bottom, it read Boston Red Sox. I slid it into my pocket. Maybe not to a collector, I said, but it'll be worth something to a friend of mine. Biggs, meanwhile, picked out Eddie's most prized treasure, a Ken Griffey Jr. rookie card. Poor Eddie looked like someone had just drowned his cat. Biggs studied the card, reading all the facts and stats. He looked at poor, miserable Eddie Becker. I can't take this from you, Biggs said. What? Eddie said. I can't take it, Biggs said. You love it too much. He handed the card back to Eddie, who stood there amazed. But you still owe me one thing, Biggs said. He jabbed a thick finger at Eddie's chest. Sure, Eddie said. Anything. Biggs winked at me. Good, he said. Let's wrestle. Then Biggs pounced. Wham! I left the room to the sound of Eddie's moans and groans. I heard Biggs Maloney scream, Pinned! The Red Phantom triumphs again. Get up, Eddie, Biggs urged. Let's wrestle again. I was happy to wrap up another case. I hopped on my bike. First, I had to drop off 50 cents at Mila's house. She deserved it. Without her help, I would have never solved the case. Then I had to find Grams. I had a present for her. It was just a common baseball card, but I knew it would make her smile. And that was worth more to me than money. And that is the end of our Jigsaw Jones story. I love how it ended. It ended with Jigsaw Jones filling his grandma's bucket by getting her very own baseball card that she would like. I hope you enjoyed this story as much as I did. I hope you guys have a fabulous weekend at home, and I'll meet you back here, not Monday because we're actually off from school on Monday, but Tuesday to start a brand new story. Have a great weekend.